Bat1 here, and today I am doing the future of Yu-Gi-Oh! On my channel. And for you guys who have not seen the future of Yu-Gi-Oh! Before, the future of Yu-Gi-Oh! Is where I talk about decks, cards, archetypes, and all other sorts of things that I think will be good later on in the game, and which I think will actually become relevant or decent at some point. Or just interesting cards that I could see being put in some interesting techs. So yeah, let's get started. The first card we're going to be talking about is the new Draco Slayer card. Masterpiece, the True Draco Slayer. Now, Masterpiece, the True Draco Slayer is a light, level 8, 2950 attack, 2950 defense. Its effect is, cannot be normal summoned / set. Must be first special summoned from your hand by attributing one Draco Slayer monster and one Draco Overlord monster. Okay, so first of all, it can't be summoned relatively easy because its effect states that it needs to be special summoned by attributing Overlords and Masters. So that's something that will make it an interesting thing to play. Also, because it has to be special summoned from the hand, it kind of brings something to mind that playing it could actually neg you a card because you wouldn't really want to draw this turn 1. So it's going to be interesting if people actually play it. Its next part of its effect is, once per turn during either player's turn, when a card or effect is activated, you can negate that activation. Okay, so it's got an effect that can negate any effects. That's actually really good. It can stop battle traps and other things, which I find to be very interesting. Okay, so that's probably going to be one of the reasons why someone will play it. Its next effect is, if this card on the field is destroyed by battle, well, destroyed by your opponent's card effects, either by battle or card effect, you can special summon one Draco Slayer monster and one Draco Overlord monster from your deck. Now, that's a very good thing because it means when this card is destroyed, you're going to get a +2 off it. So it means you're actually going to get a good way to recycle it, and you could possibly even summon it back. And the builds I could probably see this being used in will probably be ones that use stuff like Red MD, so you can recycle this a lot easier, and it will actually be quite consistent because being able to just tribute it off and special summon it back from the graveyard could actually be very good because it would actually help the deck a lot. So I can actually see this card being a very relevant card, decent as well. Not the best card of the Draco Slayers so far, but a very decent card nonetheless that I can actually see being somewhat relevant depending on how the Draco Slayer engine turns out to go. So yeah, that's Masterpiece, the Draco Slayer, the first card we're talking about. So let's move on to the next card. Animized Vanisher, the True Draco Emperor. So, Animized Vanisher, the True Draco Emperor. So, not an Overlord, an Emperor. That's an interesting thing. Its effect is, well, it's a level 9 fire, 2900 attack, 1900 defense first, obviously. It's a worm, and its effect is, you can destroy a total of 2 monsters in your hand and / or field on your field, including a fire monster, and if you do, special summon this card from your hand. And if you do, destroy 2 fire monsters. If you destroyed 2 fire monsters this way, you can banish 1 monster your opponent controls or in their graveyard. Now that's actually quite good. This is a card that that's a card that I'd actually see being used in a deck like Infernoids, because the Infernoid deck has actually lost quite a lot of what it needs to be able to play properly, because it's lost its free reasoning, and this is a card that I could actually see being used in the deck, because just being able to destroy 2 Infernoid cards, sending them to the graveyard, special summoning this from your hand, and then being able to banish any monster or any other card from your graveyard can actually be very good, and I can actually see that being very relevant in the game. Sorry, the mouse went off it. So going on other cards. Okay, so yeah, that's a pretty relevant effect that I can see actually becoming very good. So its next effect is, let's see, where was I? If this card is destroyed by battle by a card effect, you can add one non-fire warrior type monster from your graveyard to your hand. You can only use this effect of Angmar the true Draco Emperor once per turn. Okay. Now that's an effect that'll make me think this would probably be used in something like Yang Zing's. Because it's hard to actually say, because this card is a very interesting card. It can be used in a deck like Infernoids very easily to be able to banish cards, and it can also be used in a deck like Yang Zing's, because being able to destroy 2 Yang Zing's in hand will not just allow you to summon this, but 2 additional monsters with it, which should actually be very good in my opinion, and could actually happen very easily. I'm not sure if they would miss timing because of this effect, because it's a summoning effect, but if it does work, then it would actually be a very decent effect for them to use in the deck. But I find this card could be used best in Infernoids because being able to banish a card can actually be very good. So yeah, this is a decent card. It's not a great card, but it's a very decent card that I can actually see being used in non-meta decks. It can even be used in something like Fire Kings as well, because they gain effects when they're sent to graveyard. So yeah, that's a very decent card. Not a great card, but a decent card. So, the next card is a card that, oh my god, the name. I can already see the fan fiction being made about this card. Coco, Magician Girl. Now, Coco Magician Girl is the level 4 that I was talking about when all the other Magician Girl support came out. So, I actually did predict that level 4 would come out, like I said. So, yeah, this is it. So, Coco Magician Girl is a water level 4 spellcaster effect, 1600 defense, 1000... Well, 1600 attack, 1000 defense. Its effect is, you can discard one spellcaster type monster, draw 1 card. That's a decent effect. Being able to discard a useless Magician Girl card in your hand can actually help very much, and then just gaining an additional draw off that would actually be very good as well. Its next effect is, once per turn, if this card is targeted for an attack, you can target one spellcaster monster in your graveyard, except Coco Magician Girl, special summon it. Then change the attacking target to this. Then change the attack target to that monster, and if you do, halve the attacking monster's attack. That's actually a really good card, I'd say, because it really works, and I could actually see it being quite useful in the Magician Girl deck. So it's very interesting, and I can't wait to see how it works in the Magician Girl deck. So yeah, let's get on to the next card, which is Performer Power Extra Shot. Now, Performer Power Extra Shot is a dark level 3 scale 6 pendulum, 800 attack, 1100 defense. Its pendulum effect is, during your main phase, you can inflict 300 points of damage to your opponent for each face-up pendulum monster in your extra deck. You can only use this effect of Extra Shock once per turn. You cannot pendulum summon the turn you activate this effect. Now, that's very interesting. It's a card that has utility, but not being able to pendulum summon can actually hinder you. But I would say, if you've not got a lot of if you've got a lot of pendulum monsters in your extra deck, and you don't need to pendulum summon, then this can actually be very good. It's also an effect that could possibly go for game for you, so I can actually see myself using this card up 1. Also, it's another card to be able to help you make something like Naverna High Paladin, which I will hopefully be using when it comes out. So this is a very decent card in my opinion, and I would love to see what I will be able to do with it. Okay, so its monster effect is, once per turn you can banish one monster from your extra deck, then target one card in your either player's pendulum zone, destroy it, and if you do, inflict 300 points of damage to your opponent. Now that's a good effect for against your opponent, but having to banish a card from your extra deck can actually hinder you as well, because banishing cards from your extra deck is something that you don't really want to do too often. But even so, being able to deal that 300 damage can also help you go for game. But I'd say its monster effect isn't that great, but its extra deck effect has more potential than its graveyard effect. Okay, so let's perform a Power Extra Shot. Let's move on to the next one, which is a very interesting card. So this card is Zushin the Sleeping Giant. Now this is a very interesting card to me, especially seeing as it's level 10. And it's obviously going to need tons of censoring, seeing as you can tell by its card art. So this is a level 10 warrior effect, 0 attack, 0 defense. Its effect is, cannot be normal summoned, must be special summoned from your hand by attributing one monster with 10 Zushin counters, and cannot be special summoned by other ways. Once per turn, you can reveal in your hand until the end of this turn. Then target one level 1 normal monster you control. Place one Zushin counter on it. So basically, this will be hoping that you can actually keep a level 1 monster on the board for about 10 turns, unless you draw 3 Zushin, and then you're just going to have to reveal all 3. Wait about 4 turns, and see what happens. So okay, it's going to be a very hard card to summon. Its next effect is unaffected by other card effects, so it's got a Towers effect. The next effect is, if this card battles an opponent's monster during damage calculation, this card's attack and defense becomes equal to the attack of the opponent's battling monster. Wait, what? I think that, well, the rest of its effect is, battling monster, plus 1000, during damage calculation only. I don't like that effect, because from the reading, I think you have to I think your opponent has to be the one attacking Zushin, so that doesn't really make sense in my opinion. I may be wrong, but if it is, then it's not really a great card, but if it isn't, then it's got a great effect. But yeah, I think this card will probably be summoned mainly by... Oh no, it can't even be special summoned. Maybe by a wild monster appears, because I don't really see any other way of summoning this card. But it's an interesting card indeed. It's going to be a very hard card to summon, unless you're playing like a wild monster appears, like I said. But it's going to be very interesting to see what people try to do with this. I would say it's a great card if you could summon it, but its summoning requirements is very hard. So yeah, that's Zushin the Sleeping Giant. The next card we're going to be talking about is Card of Soul. Now, this is a very interesting spell card. It's a normal spell card that's effect is, look through your deck and if you do, you can add one monster from your deck to your hand whose total attack and defense equals your life points. You can only activate one card of spell per time. So, 8,000 life points, Search Obelisk the Tormentor? It's a very interesting effect, because to make this relevant, you would have to play a deck that revolves around monsters that can equal your life points. So, say 8,000, you play a monster with 4,000, 4,000, 6,000, 3,000, 3,000, 2,000, 1,500, stuff like that. But it's going to be a very unique card, and I think it'll be probably used more in God card support, because it's an interesting card, definitely, but it's not a really great card in my opinion, because it has to equal your life points from attack and defense. But yeah, it's an interesting card to most definitely. So the next card we're talking about is Cosmic Cyclone. Now, this is basically another MST. It's a quick play effect. A quick play spell card that states, pay 1,000 life points, then target one spell or trap card on the field, banish it. Now, to be honest, my opinion of this card is it's not better than MST. I can only see this card being relevant against decks like Cosmo, Artifacts, decks like that. Like, back row decks, you don't really care if they're banished or not, because not many decks recycle their spells and traps. This card would definitely be decent against a Pendulum deck, but I can't see this card actually being relevant anywhere but the side deck. So I'd say it's more of a side deck card than anything else. So the next card we're going to be talking about is Endless Trap Hole. Now, Endless Trap Hole is a normal trap card that's effect is when your opponent special summons a monster/monsters, change that monsters to face down defense position. Monsters changed to face down defense position by this effect cannot change their battle position. So basically, this is a Quaking Mirror Force sort of trap hole. I can actually see this being very relevant because say you're playing against a Pendulum deck. They Pendulum 5. You have Rafflesia on board. Send Endless Trap Hole. Your opponent now can't flip all their monsters face up and they can't do anything. It's a very good card, and I can't wait to see what happens with it, because I'm thinking of actually taking this in when we get it, because it actually does seem like a really good card to run. So I can't wait to see what others will do with it and what I will attempt to do with it. So now for the last card we're talking about, which is Examination. Sorry for the noise in the background, guys. My brother decided to ditch school and he's got nothing to do, so he's sleeping. So yeah, Examination. Examination is a normal trap card. Its effect is, when an opponent's monster declares an attack, look at your opponent's hand. And if you do, if they have a monster in their hand, negate that attack. Then discard one monster from their hand. It's interesting. Not only do you have to the thing is with this card, I have one problem. Pendulums. Because if your opponent's playing a Pendulum-based deck, then when you have a look at their hand and you want to discard a card, they most likely won't have any monsters in the hand because they'll probably have Pendulum some of them all. The only cards that I can actually see that you're actually hitting in a Pendulum deck would probably be a hand trap, say like Maxi or Vela. So Examination really isn't that great a card to me. But I say if you're going up against a deck like, say, Cosmos, this card can actually be very relevant. But anything else, really, it's not really good. Plus, because it's a battle trap, you have to wait for your opponent's attack. And a lot of decks nowadays run stuff like Twin Twisters, MSTs, all of that. So it's not really that relevant a card, in my opinion, to be able to be seen as a great card. So yeah, that's the last card I'm talking about, guys. Tell me what you think of all these cards. Tell me if you liked this video. And please like, comment, and subscribe for more Yu-Gi-Oh videos. I'll see you next time, guys. Thanks for watching.